Welcome to Scenario 7 of the Dunwich Legacy, Lost in Time and Space. So passing through the gate is unlike anything you've ever experienced. To feel your body twisting and distorting, churning through realities as the gate pulls you to its ultimate destination, placed beyond the scope of human imagination. Suddenly, all is quiet, and the chaos of the journey is replaced with a sense of solitude and dread. You're in an unfathomable place, vast beyond your ability to reason and utterly alien besides. The landscape is surreal and strange, the architecture impossible. You are so far from home that home has become a threadbare dream you can barely recall. Even should you find a way out of this awful place, you may never be the same again. So for setup, we're going to gather these 5 encounter sets. So I've got those separated out already. I'm going to put another dimension into play, and each investigator will begin at another dimension, which is you gape in disbelief at the swirling colors and alien angles surrounding you. This is true madness. Now, the following cards are going to be set aside out of play: Edge of the Universe, Tear Through Time, and Yog Sothoth, or however you pronounce it. So there's those 3 cards. We'll put them to the side. And we will shuffle the remainder of the encounter cards to build the encounter deck. So a fairly easy setup, which is probably scary, but we'll take it. So before shuffling, we'll go through our agenda. So we've got 4. All is one. Pathways of sound and color extend for an eternity in all directions, dotted with impossible architecture and overgrown with alien wildlife. The lines between objects are jagged and shifting, and your skin feels as if it were inside out. After you are moved to a location by an encounter card effect, we'll take 1 horror, and we start with a threshold of 4 on that one. And then for our first of 4 acts, Out of This World, somehow you must find your way across the alien landscape in order to find the nexus that was described in Old Whately's tome. As an action, we discard the top 3 cards of the encounter deck, choose a location discarded by this effect, and resolve its revelation ability. And we're looking for 2 clues to progress on this one. So shuffling the encounter deck. All the goodies we need to see here. Then for ourselves, we've got Indebted in play, so 3 resources. Charisma, giving us an additional ally slot. Scrapper, which will help us fight and evade. And our Loyal Hound Duke. So to get started, we'll give our deck a quick shuffle. And draw 5 cards. Getting Deduction, a Leather Coat, Perception ×2, and the Big Deep. I'm going to discard these 3, keeping the 2 perceptions, to see if we can get an ally asset. Instead, we get Will to Survive, a Rabbit's Foot, and Cunning Distraction. So we'll shuffle these back in our stack. And we're ready to get started. So at another dimension, Shroud of 6, no clues, forced when a location leaves play, move each investigator and unengaged enemy at that location to another dimension, cannot be canceled. Our first action, we'll go ahead and put a Rabbit's Foot in play. So after we fail a skill test, we can exhaust this to draw a card. Second, we'll use our ability up here to discard the top 3 cards in the encounter deck, choose a location discarded by the effect, and resolve its revelation ability. And we've got 2 coming out. So this makes us lose our 2 resources, and this one's going to give us Surge. I think we'll go with the Surge. So Shroud of 1, get 1 clue on that. Revelation is put it into play. At the end of the round, either place a Doom on this or discard it. Now to take care of Surge, discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until a location is discarded. Resolve that location's revelation ability, then move to that location. All right. investigate. So this looks exactly like that one. So we've got a clue on each of these. Because of this, we do move to this one. But we do have a surge to deal with. If you are at an extra dimensional location, discard it and take 1 damage. Otherwise, take 2 damage. Now, first, I forgot, when we go to another location, we take a horror. And then because of this, we're going to have to discard that and take a damage. And since it moved us, we'll take another horror. And then for our third and final action, hard to believe we went through all those on our turn. We're going to use Duke to move and investigate. So we just need a 1. But I kind of want to draw into another card, so we're going to boost that. Getting a -2. So we got the clue. Pass the test so we can draw a card in the guts. That was the end of our actions. No enemy phase, so upkeep. Finding scavenging. Gaining a resource, which brings us to the end of the round. So we either place 1 doom on here or we discard it. So we'll go ahead and discard it, which moves us back, which gets us another sanity. We're going to say that confuses Duke. Then we'll place 1 of 4 on that. And collapsing reality. If you're at an extra dimensional location, discard it and take 1 damage. Otherwise, take 2 damage. So we're up to 3 damage. 1 round, 3 damage, 3 sanity. That's not a good way for success. Well, we'll take an action to hopefully find a location. We found 1. Shroud of 2, 3 clues. Put this into play and discard a random card from your hand. After the last clue on this is removed, we'll discard it. Three clues. Our 5 cards. And we will get rid of our will to survive. That's not a good thing to lose. Our second action will be to move and investigate. We'll use perception. So we're going to be 6 on 2. Getting +2 and readying Duke. So we got the clue. Get to draw a card. Getting overpowered. We have 2 clues. We'll go ahead and spin those to progress in our act. A light shimmers in the distance and you head toward it to investigate. The wispy light drifts away from you, floating through the realm's strange gateways, ascending looping staircases, and crossing through barriers you dared not cross earlier. With little chance of finding the nexus on your own, you follow the light, hoping it is guiding you in the right direction. Put the set-aside edge of the universe location into play. And this says you must have at least 2 clues in order to move to the edge of the universe. So we don't need to spin 2, we just need to have 2. Nothing could have possibly prepared you for this. It is beautiful and terrible to behold. Then into the beyond, you continue to follow the wisp of the light, though the treacherous landscape makes it a difficult quarry to chase. So in action, we can still discard the top 3 cards, choose a location to put in. If an investigator enters the edge of the universe, we'll advance, so we need 2 more clues to make that happen. And for our third action, we'll use Duke to investigate. Being 4 on 2. Let me see. We'll go ahead and make it 5 on 2. Getting a -4. So that didn't work for us. So after we fail a skill test, exhaust Rabbit's Foot to draw a card. Finding a flare. No enemies in play. Upkeep. Draw another card into an emergency cache. Gain a resource. I don't think these trigger anything. Put one up there and drawing a card. Visions of futures past. Need to test our willpower. For each point you fail by, discard the top card of your deck. So we're base 4. 5, 6. Getting a -1, so we're good there. Goes away. We get to draw a card from having some guts, finding a stray cat. And I am officially on that spot, I do believe. If not, I mean, Duke would have moved us there. For our first action, we're going to shoot up a flare and see if we can find somebody. So we search the top 9 cards of our deck for an ally asset, put it into play under your control, and then we exile the flare. So 2 clues for that. And we had 2 people show up, the Doctor and Peter Silvestre. I like Peter a bit better. He lets us handle horror and gives us bonuses to 2 abilities. So we'll put him in play and shuffle these back in. Then we will use Duke to help us investigate. 4 on 2. Getting a -1. Then we'll discard our emergency cache so we can ready Duke and try again. And I'll boost that by 1, making a 5 on 2. And that gives us -1 for each extra dimensional location in play, which is just 1, so we're good there. And after the last clue is removed from here, we discard this, which throws us back to another dimension. And we take a sanity, which we'll give to Peter. And at the end of our turn, we heal 1 from Peter. No enemies, so upkeep. Finding the Doctor. Resource. Placing our 3rd Doom. And a tear through space. So Surge. Put this into play at the end of the round. Either place a Doom on it or discard it. And then the Surge gets us another location. Then draw the topmost Madness card in your discard pile. Pretty sure we don't have any. Have not seen any Madness yet. And you would leave steps of whatever. Test our willpower. If we fail, shuffle steps into the encounter deck instead of moving to our original destination. Well, for our first action, we have 2 clues. Oh, never mind. We can't move there. We need to be in here before we can move up that direction. That makes a lot more sense now. So our first action is to use Duke to move over here and explore. No. I can't move anywhere. We need a way to get to this location. We're probably going to need more clues eventually. We'll run down here and get a clue so that that doesn't throw some Doom out. Not that it's going to matter. So we're finally doing something. 4 on 1. Getting a -5. Since we failed, we draw into Lucky. We'll discard the stray cat. To ready Duke. So for our second action, we'll investigate again. getting a 0. So we find a clue. Then for our third action, we're going to go looking for a location. So 3 cards, not finding one. So enemy phase, we've got nothing going on. Upkeep, drawing into overpowered, gaining a resource, end of the round. We're going to let this go away instead of letting a doom go on it, which moves us back here and gives us a sanity that we'll let Peter hold on to. Then we'll get our 4th doom over here. Shuffle the encounter discard pile into the encounter deck, then discard cards from the top until a location is discarded. The lead investigator resolves that location's revelation effect. So we got some shuffling to do. And then we're going to discard until we find a location. Found the Endless Bridge. So we put this into play and lose 2 resources. Shroud of 4, 2 clues on it. After investigator leaves Endless Bridge, place 1 doom on Endless Bridge or discard it. And this lets us go to a place we don't need to go. All right, so finishing here, need to check your campaign log. If the investigators failed to save the students, read the following. So checking in my log, we did save the students, so we will ignore the rest. Maybe go into past, present, future. As you cross this realm, catch occasional glimpses of reality, scenes from old memories, more recent visions from the past few days, and sometimes even events that you do not remember ever happening. After you are moved to a location by an encounter card effect, take 1 horror and a threshold of 4. Then we'll draw a card, Visions of Future Past. So we're testing our willpower. For each point we fail by, we'll discard the top card of our deck. And we have a base 5, thanks to Peter. So we're just going to go 5 on 5. Getting -1 for each of those locations out. So that's 2. So we're going to discard 2 cards. Losing a knife. We're discarding a madness. And even though it was discarded, it did in our hand. So we do go ahead and do this. So exhaust all assets you control. We cannot ready them, and for 2 actions, we can get rid of it. So, visions were not pretty. So our first 2 actions, we're going to get rid of our nightmares. And our third action, we'll go looking for a location and not find one. So no enemies, we'll ready all our assets. Draw a card into a laboratory assistant. Gain a resource. Spread our first to 4 doom on that one. And find an interstellar traveler. Spawn in any extra dimensional location. He's a hunter. When he enters a location, flip 1 clue on that location to its doom side and place it on interstellar traveler. Or place 1 doom on him if there are no clues on that location. So I guess we'll put him down here. Flip that over to a doom and put it on him. Our first action, we'll put in our laboratory assistant for 2. So our max hand size is increased by 2 while checking with her during the upkeep phase. After she enters play, we draw 2 cards. And because of charisma, we can We've got 2 ally slots. So we'll spin the 2 resources, draw 2 cards, working a hunch and a leather coat. Our second action, we'll look for a location. Not finding one. And our third action, we'll look for a location. This time, we find another tear through space with Surge. Which gets us to a prismatic cascade. So put this into play and discard a random card from your hand. After the last clue on this is removed, we discard the cascade. And let's see, that one gets us up to there, and this one actually gets us to that location. What a mess. So random card from our hand. We are losing, did not want to lose that one. So we're going to use Duke to move and investigate. We're going to move to the prismatic cascade. Value of 2. Getting minus 1, 2, 3, 4. So we failed. We'll use our rabbit's foot to draw a card into Earl Sawyer. And our third and final action, we're just going to move from here over to the steps. So I'll rearrange some of these cards since help with my directions of where things are going. End of our turn, we'll heal Peter. Enemy phase, this guy can go to this location. So he'll move over here. Upkeep, drawing a card, finding a knife, and a resource. Spread some doom, so we're up to total of 3 in play. All right, Visions of Futures Past. We've seen this before and it didn't go well for us. We are a base 5. So we got -1 for each extra dimensional location. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Discarding 4 cards. Finding one of our weaknesses. Put this into play in our threat area. At the end of your turn, take a direct horror. 2 actions to discard it. We did fail, so we do draw a card. So look what I found. So that was that. Well, we'll spend 2 actions on that. And our third action, we'll just move over, yes, to the edge of the universe. We have at least 2 clues. So, Shroud of 2, 2 clues. You must have at least 2 clues in order to move here. Investigators at the edge of the universe cannot draw cards during the upkeep phase. But once we enter there, we get to advance. So you reach an impossible dense pitch black void and realize that this place is where all of reality, all that is and all that ever will be, ends. In its center, you see a minuscule rift suspended just out of reach. When you peer through the tear, you are surprised to see the peak of Sentinel Hill. Somehow you've reached the other side of the rift. Now you must find a way to close it for good. So closing the rift. The unearthly stones on the ground are inscribed with some sort of seal. Approaching them causes a voice to enter your mind, speaking in an alien language. Discard top 3 cards of the encounter deck as an action. Our objective: only investigators at the edge of the universe may spend a requisite number of clues as a group to advance. We need 3. We have 3. So we are going to go ahead and do that. Got our 3 clues. We are at the edge of the universe. So that was the quickest act ever. You are utterly exhausted, true story, with no idea as to what can be done to close the rift. It is too distant to touch, and nothing you do has any effect. There's nothing here to guide you apart from the unearthly words that are seeping into your mind. Just then you hear a familiar voice within the echoing chorus and feel yourself compelled to repeat it. Claude Estium. You whisper at first the words on the tip of your tongue. You close your eyes and concentrate, and the echo grows louder. When it ends and you open your eyes, you face nothing but an ink abyss, and the tear has vanished. Remove Edge of the Universe from the game. Put the set-aside tear through time location into play. So if the edge is leaving the game, that means we're going back to here. Which means we're taking a horror. Or Peter is taking one. Then we put the set-aside tear through time in play. And we've got to run through that again. Or at least I'm assuming. Finding a new way. No clear way out of this dimension. You seek another path. As an action, we can discard 3 cards to look for location. Objective. Each undefeated investigator has resigned. We advance, so we need to resign, which we're going to assume is over here. And all that happened at the end of our turn, or during our turn. So at the end, we'll heal Peter 1. Enemy phase. This guy can go to green, blue. So you can come up here to the prismatic cascade. And I might need to take all that back. I don't remember if I did this step, so I'm going to go ahead and do it now. We'd have been a base 5 on 2. I definitely don't want to lose, so we'll make it 7 on 2. Getting a +2 and readying Duke, so that didn't change anything I've done. There's a lot of stuff to keep track in this. So back to where we were. Enemy phase moved, upkeep, drawing into deduction, gaining a resource. We're going to put a doom out here, but there's one already in place. So that takes us up to 4, so we remove all those. Shuffle the encounter discard pile into the encounter deck, then discard cards from the top until a location's discarded. Lead investigator resolves that location's revelation effect. So first we shuffle. Then we discard until we find a location. It's got Surge and 1 clue on it. And the Surge is Terror from Beyond. Choose one of the following card types. Each player must discard each card in his hand of that card type. Oh, we've got 2 skills, 3 events, and 3 assets. I'm going to choose the assets. All right, check. If at least one name is recorded in the sacrificed, we'll read the following, and we've got one name there. So you hear a familiar voice calling out to you, and you enter an impossibly shaped building of cracked stone. No, don't, the voice cries. Rush towards the voice, down a set of steep, narrow stairs. Upon reaching the bottom, you find yourself in the hidden chamber from Dunwich. Bound by shackles, you see those you failed to save, bloodied and maimed. Creature with a man's face feeds from a corpse on the ground. Head of the corpse turns to face you, and sharp pain stabs your heart. We will test our willpower, where X is the number of names recorded, which is just one. So that's not too bad. So we're 5 on 1. And that is reveal another token. If you fail after the skill test, discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until a location is discarded. And that is -1 for each. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, we failed. I don't think we can go less than 0. So we'll take 1 damage. Put that on Duke. We failed a test, so we can draw a card. Finding unexpected courage. Then we have to discard until we find a location. Then we move there. Oops. And since we're moving here, we're going to take a sanity, which Peter will take. Discard a random card from your hand. It's got 3 clues on it. So it's another one of these prismatic cascades. So we're done with the back of that, so on to the front of this one. Breaking through. Throughout this warped dimension, no matter where you travel, there is a haunting shape in the distance. At first it appears as a disc, like a black moon with many wriggled arms. But as time passes, you can tell it is growing larger and larger. After you move, same thing. If we're moved by a card effect, we'll take a horror. So that was resolving that. So we're over here. So an offer of power. We'll deny it. You must either draw 2 cards and place 2 doom on the current agenda, or take 2 horror. We'll take the 2 horror. We will take one of them, and Peter will take the other one. I feel like we're going to need clues. So we're going to use Duke to investigate here. So base 4 on 2. We're going to make it 5, 6, 7 on 2, and if this is successful, we'll discover 1 additional clue at that location. Getting a -1, so we are going to gather 2 clues. Then we'll discard a card to ready Duke, and use him to move and investigate. We'll move up here to the steps. So base 4 on 3. We'll go 5, 6 on 3. Getting a -1. So we found that clue. Then for our third action, we're going to try to move, which means we need to test our willpower. 5 on 2. We'll make it 6, 7. Getting a 0. So we've made it over here. Shroud of 2, 2 clues. As an action, we can spin 2 clues and resign. Find a new path and hope that it leads back to safety. If only we had one more action. Enemy phase, this guy's going to move towards us. Upkeep, well, he is healing 1. Drawing into, we found Zeb. Gain a resource. Spread a doom, and see what's going to happen here. That's terrible. Let's see. All right, so he's going to come after us. Fight of 1, 6 health, 4 evade. Some minor damage coming in. Our first action is to resign. And since we did something other than fight and do some other things, we'll take a damage and throw a sanity on him from him doing attack of opportunity. And we have resigned. So we advance. You discover a path that looks somewhat familiar and follow it. Even though your task is complete, you now understand that in closing the tear, you may never make it home. The fear of being lost here forever spurs you onward through an archway leading into an overgrown corridor. A damp wooden door leads you out into a pocket of thin rain and dark sky. Cement turns to gravel, then marble, then steel, then grass. You cross impossibly long meadows and make your way through dense woods before fatigue finally sets in. Drained of all energy, you cannot go on any further. Your body gives out. So we're going to resolution 1. So resolution 1. Lying on your back in a patch of wet grass, you find yourself staring longingly at the night sky. Somehow you are once again atop Sentinel Hill, unable to recall exactly how you got here. You're mesmerized by the night sky. Seconds become minutes and minutes become hours. Eventually you are found and lifted to your feet by a group of Dunwich citizens. What happened? What are you doing here? They ask you, frightened but curious. Can't seem to find the right words to describe the events that occurred beyond the gate, if they ever truly occurred. There doesn't appear to be any trace of Seth Bishop, or the creatures you fought earlier, or the phantasmal and otherworldly gate. But every time you sleep, you dream, and when you dream, it all comes rushing back. So in our campaign log, record we close the tear in reality. We each suffer 2 physical trauma and 2 mental trauma, as we never fully recover from our time spent outside the realm of reality. We earn XP equal to the X value of each card in a victory display, and then we gain an additional 5 bonus as we save the world from being torn apart. The investigators win the campaign. So with that, hope you enjoyed this campaign series through the Dunwich Legacy. So please click on the like button below and be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.